Hey guys, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is aggressive dieting. So what is up, everybody? As promised, look, it's video number 2 of the week. Back in the grind, getting it done. New house, new life, same old fucking. So what are we talking about today? Today we're talking about aggressive dieting. Well, that is a can of worms that I'm about to open up. That's the worms in the can. Sorry, not sorry. Because I think for a lot of us, we have this idea, right? We have this idea that there's healthy and there's unhealthy, there's acceptable, there's not acceptable. And really, a lot of the times, there's some gray area there where we can get away from things. So I think that for me, it's important that I talk about what I do, put it out there, what I find is acceptable and what I find is a gray area and what I find as unacceptable. Because I see a lot of things from people coming from other coaches, maybe, they're working with that coach right now, they're in a prep, they're coming over, whatever the case might be. I see a lot of stuff. And so I see some things that I just absolutely detest, and I see a lot of things where it's like, well, I can kind of see why they would do this, and it's arguable. I don't necessarily know that they're doing something wrong, or maybe they're not necessarily doing something wrong. You know what I mean? So, whereas I would love to hate on every other coach all the time and say that everybody's a fucking asshole and stupid, that's not the case. There's lots of other great coaches out there. There's plenty of coaches that are, probably better than me out there. And so it's important that I don't just spread hate speech and, it's better that we understand some of the principles and we understand kind of what I feel to be as good sound principles in coaching. And if people if they fit that, then awesome, you have a great coach. Or you are a great coach even, right? So let's talk about, I think, for me, first and foremost, the easy one. Protein, right? Chicken. I'm gonna Photoshop a chicken in there. But protein's the easy one because I think a lot of people don't have issues with this, right? If you look at the research, there's not really much research that shows any research that I've seen. There's zero research that I've seen that shows protein's hard on the kidneys, right? The idea is that you kind of have these filter things, they're called the glomerular filtration units, right? And that protein gets stuck in them and it's hard on them and whatever the case might be. But I haven't seen any studies that prove that. They've done very high protein intakes with that too. So for most people, you're gonna be eating essentially a gram per pound of body weight, right? That's very simple, straightforward. You can probably get away with a little less, but if you're in a hard dieting phase, it might not be the best idea. Some people will go higher, which you can argue quite easily. It helps with satiety. There are a lot of people that I give higher protein intakes to because it helps them to stay, full. Helps them to hit their numbers. And protein has a higher thermic effect, which means it takes your body more energy simply to break it down and convert it into glucose and then being able to store it. So, if you're going to overshoot on anything, protein's the one to do it, right? Pretty straightforward there. What about carbs? Carbs. Well, technically you can live without carbs, right? You could go keto. Even keto people still have a little bit of carbs. You have to make sure you're getting your micronutrients in, right? So whether that's supplementation, vitamins, greens, shakes, whatever, actually eating just veggies, those kind of things, whatever. We want to have health, right? I am health. So it's important that we still get our micronutrients in. Now, whether we get those in through carbohydrate sources and what we eat, or we get them in through supplementation, we want to have micronutrient intake, right? It's important that your body is functioning at its best, right? We need all of our micronutrients within the correct ranges so that we can do that. But I could eat no carbs and live. I would go into ketosis and I would continue life. I would probably be a cranky continuing of life, but I would continue life. So carbohydrates, as you can argue, can go as low as you want. However, I find that at some point, and this point is going to be different for everybody, right? Lowering carbs below a certain amount is not worth it, because of the fact that what I've seen from my experience, is that my competitors, my athletes, myself, our energy just drops so dramatically that we just don't do all the other stuff that we would normally do. So our non-exercise activity, the intensity of our exercise activity, it all drops so much to where that cut that we made, it doesn't pay off. We actually end up adding calories because of our output is lower, right? So for me, and again, this depends on the person. Smaller individuals, my bottom end will be a little bit lower, but I tend not to go super low on carbs anymore. I try and keep them at least above 60, which is really, really crazy low anyways. But if I can, I try and keep people more around the 100, give or take a little bit of carbs there in terms of my bottom end for carbohydrates. And that's if I'm really being nasty aggressive, right? Fats. This is the one I see the most often that gives me the most trouble. And by trouble, I mean it just makes me very unhappy and frustrated. Is I see people on extremely low fats. Fats, we need fats, right? All of our cell membranes are made from fats. Hormones synthesized from fats. Fat-soluble vitamins require fats. Digestion can be helped with fats. So there's a lot of reasons why fats are a good thing, right? And no matter what, we're going to get some fats, okay? Unless all you're doing is drinking whey protein isolates with zero fat, zero carbs, zero nut, you know what I mean? We're going to get fats. We're going to get at least some trace fats within our meats. But I quite often see people with just meats, right? Just trace fats. I see people on 10 grams of fats and 15 grams of fats. My opinion is that is absolutely too fucking low. Yeah, I cuss. I've already done it a bunch of times. But I like cussing because I feel like it really makes a point, right? Don't go that low on your fats, guys. 35 grams of fat a day for a normal training day is my absolute bare bones bottom end on fats. I really prefer to keep people at 40, 45 as if I can. So 40, 45 fats, that's really where I'm going to bottom out for the vast majority of individuals. Remember, like some people are smaller individuals, maybe they're smaller in stature, less lean body mass. There might be a little wiggle room. There's some gray room there. But if somebody's asking, you know, an athlete to eat 15, 20 grams of fat, I have an issue with that. I take offense to that. I think that that's too low for your general health. I think that it's asking to create problems. If that continues long term, we definitely see detriments with that, right? So fats, absolute bottom end. So if I have these bottom ends on my calories, right, and I'm not willing to really go lower than that, how the fuck do I get people stage lean? The answer is cardio, dude. The answer is cardio. Remember, everybody's different. Everybody's going to lose weight on different calories and different amounts of cardio and have different stuff going on. But I am much more apt to be prescribing more cardio now when we hit plateaus or when things start slowing down, when we need to push harder. So how aggressive is aggressive on a diet? Well, you know, I've definitely have one client right now where we're pushing for a national show. She's doing double cardio sessions, 45 minutes in the morning, 45 minutes at night. We probably did that for a week or so, right? And we'll back it off, allow everything to kind of come down, get rid of some of the extra inflammation, we're lean enough, like those kind of things, right? But it's not uncommon for me to ask somebody to do extra cardio sessions. Typically I'll say, hey, do you want to push? This is what we are going to do if we're going to push. Are you okay with that? Do you have the time? Can you manage that? Yes? No? Whatever the answer is, that's what we're gonna do, right? Competing is extreme. Yeah, absolutely, right? Sometimes fat loss, we have to push pretty damn hard depending on your genetics and dieting history. Yeah, absolutely, you're correct. But I have two choices. I can be the asshole up front that says, hey, we need to do this, we need to push harder, we need to be a little bit more aggressive with our cardiovascular activity to bring in the conditioning we want. Or I can be the asshole afterwards, at the end of stage, when I wasn't as lean as I wanted to be, you didn't push me hard enough, you didn't ask me to do enough, like you're a shitty coach. I'd much rather be the asshole up front, every single time. Every single time. So, that's kind of what I tend to use, how I get around my calorie sort of bottom ends where I don't like to go below, and how I still get people to be lean enough for stage. So hopefully that helps out, guys. That's my video on aggressive dieting. How low is too low? YOLO.